Hey everybody, welcome to Last Week from the Table for November 10th, 2020. I'm your host, DM Gallibond. Alright, so last week was a really strange week. Everybody was expecting that Tuesday there would be an election, and there was. And that by the end of the day, Tuesday, you would kind of know who won. But you didn't. And that kept dragging on. And kept dragging on. And kept dragging on. It was like the never-ending campaign turned into the never-ending election, and I thought that the all of the news channels just were in an ecstatic, hedonistic party because they got to be on the air so long talking about their side and talking about how brave their side was, or how beleaguered their side was, or how strong their side was, or whatever. And then it's just like, oh, come on, give me a break. I'm ready for this to be over. I was ready for election season to be over 6 months ago. And then finally, Saturday, they got to a point where enough people said, all right, we know who the winner is. And I thought, good. Gonna be done with incessant coverage about something for a little bit. We have a breathing space before we get to Thanksgiving. And so later Saturday, while I was out running errands, I went in to the Jersey Mike's sub shop. Jersey Mike's does not sponsor their show, but I do like their food. Went into Jersey Mike's to get lunch, and what did I hear? Christmas music. So we've gone out of one endless season right into another endless season. But that's not what Last Week from the Table is all about. Last Week from the Table, we do a recap of the actual play game sessions that I run on Twitch every week. So I'm going to go ahead, stop the music, and we're going to go ahead and talk about those games. All right, on Thursday nights at 8 p.m., we play the Sword Coast Chronicles. And this week, the party had actually gotten as far as Waterdeep. And so we're right in the middle of playing through the Tyranny of Dragons storyline. And the party is level 5. And they have come from Baldur's Gate, following the caravan all the way up to Waterdeep. And they have discovered that the cultists are hanging out there in Waterdeep. And so they wanted to go and get some information. So the bulk of the episode was spent at the Yawning Portal. And they go in and they find out why the Yawning Portal is called the Yawning Portal. And one of them had the bright idea, hey, let's go down in the Yawning Portal. And I kind of like to make my games sandbox-ish. And fortunately, there is the entire Dungeon of the Mad Mage campaign, which is all about exploring the Undermountain. And so there was a time where, one of the players was really passionate about wanting to go and explore Undermountain, because he thought, oh, well, let's just go down there. We can go down there for an hour or two, and then we'll come back up. And other players are like, no, dude, it's not an hour or two. It's like you go down there and you may not ever be able to get out. And if you can't get out, you got to go all the way through the thing. It's like 23 levels. No, don't do this. But as the DM, I was like, well, it's there. If you want to go down, it's there. And eventually I had to say, okay, hey, party, I know you're debating this. And if this is what you want to do, it's fine. But just let me know by midweek next week because I will have to create a new campaign because the way Roll20 works, when you have a campaign length source book, you have to create a special game just for that. So I would have to create a whole new game, attach all of the Dungeon of the Mad Mage stuff to it, and then move their characters over to that game so that we could play. Eventually, they decided, no, 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 we don't want to do that. And the players were all fine with not doing that. But one of the characters really, really, really still wanted to go down and explore that thing. So at some point, they may want to circle back and do that, which is fine. If that's what they want to do, we can do that. I'm flexible. This is, after all, supposed to be a love letter to the various campaigns. But that actually took up the bulk of the session, is just the characters deciding what to do and me just sort of taking my hands off the wheel and letting them run with it because I want to make this game fun for them. I don't know how fun the session was for people listening to them talk about, well, they could do this or they could do that or they could do the other. But it was fun for me because I always like to hear the players kind of get into the thought process and the mindset of what their characters would want to do. And everything they say gets recorded and can and probably will be used against them at a future point in the campaign. So um, it's a great opportunity for me when they just riff on things to go ahead and pick up what they're laying down and use that as future fodder for what's going to happen in our campaign. So you can join us Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Gallibond and find out what happens next in the Sword Coast Chronicles. All right. Then on Saturday nights, we do the Lost Mine of original D&D. This is the story of the Lost Mine of Phandelver, and that story is actually played out using original D&D rules. So I have repopulated the entire Lost Mine adventure with the monsters that come from original D&D. If I can't find the exact same monster, I use a very close monster from original D&D. All of the characters conform to the character rules of original D&D, and we follow all of the gameplay rules, including combat, including things like THAC0, where that's a roll that you have to hit armor class 0. And one of the rule differences is that in original D&D, the lower your armor class, the better it is. So 0 is kind of a gold standard among PCs. What people want, they want to try to achieve an armor class 0. And that happens Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. And in this edition, they spent most of the campaign in the town of Sealsea. Now, Sealsea is the name that I have given to Phandelver because, yes, I have taken the setting out of the Forgotten Realms and put it into a homebrew world for purposes of my own. And the party had previously charmed Clark from the Cragmaw hideout, and Clark still has his pet wolf Ripper, but the halfling has started to befriend the wolf and has been feeding the wolf treats, and has also had a special saddle made so that eventually the halfling can start riding the wolf. And yes, this is the way my players are thinking, which is fine with me. This is fun. We're having a great time with it. So one of the things that happened is while they were at the Stone Hill Inn in the town of Steelsey, the halfling wasn't sleeping terribly well, and he heard a noise outside the inn. And he goes to the window and he looks and he sees this wolf down walking back and forth outside the window, and then it finally, or outside the inn, and then it finally sits down there, and it goes a little, kind of noise, and so the halfling is like, "Oh, great, the wolf followed us here from the camp." So then he goes down and he gives the wolf a treat, and he's able to get a lead over the wolf's neck. He made a couple of checks, and the wolf allowed him to put a lead over his neck. And then he took the wolf inside to spend the rest of the night inside the inn. And then hilarity ensued the next morning when the inn was starting to wake up, and the innkeeper and his wife were starting to make breakfast, and the wolf started, acting like it needed to go outside because it had to find a nice tree. So the halfling just puts the lead on the wolf and takes it downstairs. And of course, when it gets downstairs in view of the common room, in view of the serving maids, there was this scream, and crockery goes all over the place, and the wolf got startled by the scream, so the wolf starts woo, 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 which wakes the entire rest of the inn up. And so yeah, the halfling caused quite a stir by bringing a full grown wolf into the inn and startling the help. Uh, but once they realized that the wolf would actually answer to the halfling, they all thought that meant the halfling was some kind of incredible druid that had power over wild animals. And so now they think that they have this incredible band of heroes that's staying at the inn because, oh wow, they can control a grown wolf. So if you want to see what other kinds of shenanigans the party gets up to, you can join us Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, once again on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Gallibond. And last but not least, we have my Planeswalking game, the Walker of Waterdeep. This is a 5e game, Sunday afternoons, 2 p.m. Eastern. And now the party is in the plane of Kamigawa. And the whole theory behind this, or the whole trope, I guess, behind this particular campaign is that it's a mix of Magic the Gathering lore and D&D 5e rules. So what I have done is I've created a story that started off with the characters being in the employment of a planeswalker that was stranded in the city of Waterdeep. And over time, they have eventually started traveling to different planes. They have a base in Waterdeep. They now have a second base with a bunch of allies in Ravnica. And from Ravnica, they have traveled to Innistrad, and then Innistrad back to Ravnica, and now they've traveled from Ravnica to the plane of Kamigawa. And in Kamigawa, they arrived, and I am using the storyline that comes with the first Kamigawa expansion. So the Kami War is in full swing, and in fact, when they teleported from Ravnica, they teleported to an Aki stronghold because I just decided, this is me. I just decided that I was going to make the Aki be the most technologically advanced race in Kamigawa because they're goblins, and because goblins in a lot of universes are kind of like the steampunk tinker, you know, you go back to World of Warcraft. You had the goblins on one side and the gnomes on the other side. They were the ones that figured out all the flying machines and everything like that. And goblins are a big part of the Izzet League in Ravnica. And so I just said, all right, the goblins, the Aki, which are the Kamigawa goblins, they are kind of the technologically advanced people, and that's who the Ravnicans would have established a relationship with. And so the party goes to Kamigawa because they need some special oil that the Aki are able to refine from ingredients that are found in Kamigawa. Well, there's a problem. There's the Kami War, and in fact, when they got to the keep, the Kami were attacking the Aki, and the party was thrown right into the middle of the battle, had to help the Aki defend the keep. And once they did, that of course got them befriended by the Duke, who is the owner or who's in charge of the keep. And the Duke brings them in and so starts to find out what they're here for, what they need, and says, "Oh, okay, well, there's a problem. The first problem is that we can't get to the natural resource that we use to create the oil because there's the Kami War is going on. The second problem is all the machinery that we use to refine the oil hasn't worked right ever since the Kami War started. So if we can't figure out how to end this Kami War, then we may not be able to make that oil again. Um, and it's either way, it's going to be really difficult to get to the natural resource. So they started learning a little bit about the Kami War, and they learned about uh, a great philosopher that might they might be able to consult to help them try to figure out what's behind the Kami War. But the Aki don't have a direct relationship with the um, philosopher. They think the fox people, the Kitsune, might have a relationship with them, but the Aki and the Kitsune don't get along. However, there's the snake people that live in the forest, and if you go to the snake people may be able to introduce you to the fox people, and the fox people may be able to take you to the philosopher. So of course, now they've got to figure out how they're going to get to the forest because the Kami are attacking all over the place and everything like that. So it was another session where they were doing a lot of planning and a lot of learning about that. And probably after they do a couple of more little things there at the keep, they will probably be leaving and setting out on their journey during the next session unless they do a lot more interaction with the people at the keep, which is entirely possible. There have been times in this game where I thought we were going to be in a location for half of one session, and it turns out we were there for 3 or 4 sessions in a row. So just because the players kept finding things they wanted to do there. Okay, that's fine. Fine with me if you want to kick the tires and go explore everything and talk to everybody that's in there. We can do that. So you can join us Sunday afternoons at 2 p.m. Eastern, again on twitch.tv/Gallibond for the Walker of Waterdeep. And that's going to do it this week for Last Week from the Table. thank you guys for coming out. If you look down in the description, you will see the all the places you can follow me on social media. And if you like all the content that we're putting up here on this channel, I'd like you to subscribe the channel, like the video, share the video, click the post notification bell so that you too can be notified every time new content drops on the channel. And final thing, always try to remember to make your D&D games memorable so that you will have tales that you can share from your table as well. Good night, everybody.